Hey, good to see you guys. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good morning. Good to see you. Good to see you guys. I am going to be sharing a little bit. I had said I would do some relationship scopes as we got closer to Valentine's Day, as we got closer to February. So I'm going to start doing those in the next couple of days. Oh, awesome. Good meeting you as well. At Millions. Thank you guys for coming, and it was amazing. Good, good, good. All right. So if you're married, if you're single, this is, thank you. You did great at Millions. Thank you so much. This Periscope will help you. Good. It was so good meeting so many of you guys. I always love meeting people that watch me on Periscope, because I always say you guys can see me, but I can't see you. So it's always great to meet you face to face and get a chance to hug you, and love you guys. Thank you for buying my products, for those that came to my table and supporting our business. It was so, so good. Oh, you were afraid to come up to me. You could have came up. I'm pretty approachable. Usually only if I'm extremely tired or hungry, will I cut it short. But next time. I will be in New York this weekend. We don't have it on my Ask Dr. Faith site, but if you follow me on Instagram and Facebook and on the Ask Dr. Faith page, you'll be able to get the address. I'll be speaking Friday night as well as Saturday. Yes, on West 43rd Street, room 600. I can't remember the room, but I'll be teaching. We're going to be teaching on the glory of God, missions, all that good stuff. So I'd love to see you guys that are in New York. All right, so let's jump right into this. I did a lot of statuses yesterday on marriage tune-up, partly because I have a course coming up on February 16th for engaged and married people on how to tune up your marriage. So this Periscope is going to be helpful for whether you're single, whether you're married. Invite your friends. It's going to help your life. One thing that I've learned about marriage is that it's a living organism. So it's not something that you say, I do, and then that's it. The depth of your marriage, the fruitfulness of your marriage, all really depends on how well you tend to I call it the garden of your marriage. And so one of the things, the course that we're doing February 16th is going to cover 4 areas that every married couple should pay attention to on a consistent basis. And like I said, you singles, take notes, because this is the stuff that you're going to have to be doing when you start, when you get married. And so there are 5 areas that, through my experience, 10 years of counseling, lots of reading, that if these areas are tuned up or they're constantly taken care of, the marriage tends to thrive better, tends to do better. And of course, I'm going to teach on these in detail during the course on February 16th. But I shared a little bit about vision on my Facebook statuses yesterday. It is so important prior to getting married that you have clear vision, but also that when you get married, you guys are sitting together. Either all my courses are online. Yes, they're all webinars. That you're sitting down and saying, okay, where are we going again? What is the plan for this year? What is the plan for 6 months? Vision helps you be excited about your future. If you don't have clarity about your future, and you don't have direction about where you guys are going, you're going to end up being roommates. If you just live kind of day to day, you get up, take care of the kids, go back, that's it. But when you and your spouse sit down and you guys have a plan that, okay, so my husband and I just bought our house in October. So from June to October, that was part of our strategy. That was our plan, what we were saving, what we were working towards. We were picking out furniture. We were picking out colors, things like that. Helps keep spunk in the marriage. Now we've bought the house. The next thing we're working on is the business. So you have to have something that you guys are building towards. Don't get married and say, oh, we're done. Don't have kids and be like, okay, we're done. But have clarity. Even if it's not these big projects, talk about where you guys want to be, dreams. Talk about where, what you want to do outside in the garden. I mean, just come up with something that both of you guys are operating in oneness together. The thing that glues marriage together is oneness. The very thing that the enemy is afraid of is oneness. If he knows that you guys are walking as one, then he has no authority in your life. And so vision helps you stay as one. And we're going to go more into it. Hey, Gabby, it's good to have you on too. Prophetess Gabby. But it's so important that your vision is clear. Every 6 months, every year, talk about it. Make sure that you're on the same page. Besides it helping you stay as one, it also helps you from going in two different directions. A lot of times when people start falling apart or start going in different directions is they have not spoken with their spouse about what's on their spouse's heart. What are the things that you would love to see come true? What are the things that you've been waiting for? What are the things that you would like to come to pass? One of the things I shared on Facebook yesterday, it is the job of every spouse to make their spouse's dreams come true. You are the guardian of your spouse's dreams. When God puts you together, and that's why you've got to marry wisely, because if you just marry whoever and they're not capable of carrying what's inside you, or they're not capable of fertilizing, so men, they need their dreams, cultivated. They need their dreams to be encouraged. They need their dreams to be pushed out. Women need their dreams to be fertilized. It's like we carry the eggs, right? When men can speak words of wisdom, words of direction, create space for your dreams, then they're able to come to pass. It is the job of every spouse to make their spouse's dreams come true. A lot of times we're so busy blaming the other person, but then we look at ourselves. We've not done anything to make sure that what they're called to do is coming forward. I always say the number one, I feel like, predictor of whether or not you will achieve the call of God in your life is who you marry. Now, if the Lord has called you to singleness or celibacy, then you don't have to worry about that. But if you have a desire for marriage and you're called to marriage, you better choose wisely, because those are the people that are going to challenge you, they're going to cultivate you, and they're going to push you forward. So one of the things that we'll discuss in detail is purpose. Not only purpose, good. Someone said they have a great wife. I love seeing that. Good. And this is the other thing. I've been around very few people, but they'll say, I don't know, everybody around me is getting a divorce. Everybody around me's marriage sucks. Well, you need to get around other healthier marriages. That is one way to tune up your marriage. If all the marriages around you are horrible, no one is excited about being married, nobody's excited about working on their marriage, you probably need a new set of friends. You need to get in a community, a church, where they encourage marriages, where they celebrate when people get married, when people work through things, when people are building together. All those things are going to help keep your marriage cultivated. Okay, so besides having vision, allowing it to help you walk as one and helping bring excitement, it's really important that your marriage has purpose. And the number one purpose for every marriage should be the same, which is it should bring God glory. So when we're getting married, it's not just like, hey, this is going to make us feel really nice. We really like this person. You guys should be saying, okay, last year, how was God magnified? How was God exalted in our marriage? What are the fruit of our marriage that we can see God's hand on? If there's no fruit out of your marriage, then you most likely are not walking in the will of the Lord, because anything that is in God bears fruit. And so this could be as simple as, hey, we discipled 1 or 2 young people. We did ministry together. Our children are really growing up really well. Our finances are looking really good. Those are all fruit of a healthy marriage. And so you guys should have evidence of that in a marriage. All right. And I'm not going to give you all the things that we're going to teach on February 16th, but you can register for the course. The other thing I talked about, and people love talking about this, I'll probably hit on it a little bit more as I periscope the next couple of days, is the intentionality when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to sex. That a lot of times people get married. Well, I think it's a lie, because once again, I'm around healthy marriages and people have sex. Research says a healthy marriage needs to have sex at least 3 times a week. When couples come to me and they're like, we had sex last month, we had sex, 2 months ago, then we know, okay, there's an issue going on there. But sex is not just something that we do because we want to feel good, or we do because it's an obligation. Sex serves so many purposes, and like I said, I could do a whole Periscope on this. But one of the things that I shared on my Facebook statuses yesterday was how sex serves as a weapon of warfare. And the reason for that is every time you come together with your mate, one, you are renewing the covenant. Every covenant in scripture required blood. And so ideally, when a couple gets married and they have sex for the first time, there should be blood spilled from the woman because she's supposed to be a virgin. That is in a perfect culture. And so that is what establishes the covenant. Every covenant, look throughout scripture, even the covenant of Jesus dying for us, there was blood that was shed there. And so the marriage covenant through sex is a continual renewal of the covenant that you have made to each other, but also have made to God. And so that's why the enemy is really after it in marriage, because he knows that it's going to keep you guys, one, from walking in oneness. It's going to keep you from agreement. But if you understand that every time we have sex, not only are we renewing the vow, we're actually punching the enemy in his face, because he does not want us to be together. He does not want us to walk as one. It begins to fight the enemy in so many areas. And I tell women are very much based on hormones and emotions when it comes to sex. And I think we'll sell this course on my website. I think we're going to load it up. I did a 2-hour teaching on his needs and her needs when it comes to sex. I talk a lot about biology. I talk a lot about emotions. I talk a lot about how to understand your mate based on their sex and their sexual needs. So we'll load it up. You'll be able to buy that course on my website. But women are very emotion-led, and they're also led by their hormones. So if their hormones, it's the right time of the month, they might want to have sex. If things are going really well, you're communicating, everything is intimate, they're going to want to have sex, right? Men, they're led by their biology, and they're led more physically, meaning that once a man starts having sex on a consistent basis, research, that's not even research, it's science. It shows how this might be, hopefully no little kids are watching it. But what happens is that the sperm, once they ejaculate every 72 hours, that's a cycle that has to happen. Or they become very tense. It becomes very uncomfortable for them. So men having sex 48 to 72 hours or every 3 days is not because they're just wanting to have sex, but physically their body it has to happen for them. And so I always tell women, and I tell men as well, women, first of all, don't just do it when, emotionally I'm fine, we're getting along, he's being romantic. Because once you have sex, oxytocin is released. And what oxytocin is called, it's called the cuddle hormone. And I've shared on this before because I think it's very important for people to understand. Once that's released, men are more likely to talk, they're more likely to cuddle, they're more likely to want to hear what you have to say. But the problem, women say, he's not talking, he's not listening, and then you want to withhold sex. But if you just, come on, get over yourself, enjoy your husband, and then talk about the things that need to go on. In the same way, men, your job is to be aware that, hey, my wife is very emotionally driven when it comes to sex. My wife is very hormonally driven. If I do my part in meeting her halfway, listening to her heart, listening to what's going on, she's going to feel closer. Then both of you guys are going to be able to have sex on a consistent basis. So some of this is the enemy, but most of it is a lack of ignorance. A lot of us get married without proper marriage counseling. We just jump into it. And I say proper because not every pastor is wired to marry you well. I mean, in my profession and what we do at Ask Dr.Faith is we counsel so many couples who either didn't go through premarital counseling or they went through it and it was like 2 hours and that was it. You've got to invest in a good marital counseling before you get married. A lot of these things can be stopped or they can be dealt with before you get married. So sex is important. We're going to talk a lot about it in detail on February 16th. Another one that I'll give you guys, and these are just practical ways to tune up your marriage. take courses together, do retreats together. The same way that we make a budget for clothes, we make a budget for hair, we make a budget for trips, make budgets for your marriage. So, okay, this year, these are the books that we're going to read together. This year, these are the trips that we're going to take together, just me and you. Me and my husband are so excited because our kids are big enough now to leave with my sister or my mother. And so we are finally able to go on some trips and really do our honeymoon that we couldn't do when we got married because we were broke. But it's important to be intentional about your marriage. It's not going to grow unless you talk about it. And I saw someone said, read the Bible together, great. Pray together, great. But this is the issue that I have with this. People really get... they focus more on the spiritual aspect of their marriage, but they don't do the practical stuff, right? So I'll have people that pray about their marriage, but they don't talk about their marriage. They don't talk about what's working. They don't talk about what needs to be fixed. I mean, every couple months, I'll say, babe, what am I doing well? What do I need to be worked on? And then he will say, what am I doing well? What do I need to be worked on? Your marriage needs to be fine-tuned intentionally. And I always use the example, we're working on this book now. I thought I'd be ready by February, but I'm not. The marriage book, specifically on marriage. But a car needs to be fine-tuned every 3,000 miles. Not fine-tuned, needs to get a tune-up. It's the same thing for your marriage. Those people that have long marriages are intentional about their marriage, not just the spiritual stuff. Sit down and talk about your sex life. Talk about it. Talk about what's working, what's not working, what you'd like the other person to do, what you don't like for them to do. Talk about it. Don't think that it's gonna, by osmosis in the air, it's gonna come up, right? Talk about it. Talk about your communication. I get angry when this. Hey, I get frustrated when this. Talk about it. And if you guys, for those that are single or engaged, if you create a space where the other person feels safe, right? It's going to be easier in marriage. Don't marry anybody who you feel like you can't be honest with, who you feel like you can't be transparent with. Now, I don't want you talking about sex in detail before you get married, but when in your marital counseling session, I let my couples put it all out there. What are the things that you're concerned about? What are the things that you're scared of? When it comes to sex. But you need to feel safe with your spouse prior to marriage. If you're already married, then you guys need to figure out, okay, why do I not feel safe? Why do I feel like I need to hold things back? Why do I feel like I cannot be open with this person? You need to talk about it. Can you talk about divorce? Yes. Talk about why you're not going to get a divorce. Talk about how you're going to prevent yourselves from getting a divorce. Talk about your issues that could lead you in a divorce. You need to talk about it. Have you been abused? Don't hide it, please. I'm not sure what that means, but talk about it. Talk about it. All right. I'll take a couple questions on marriage. I'll do a couple marriage scopes in the coming week. I want you guys, you couples, you engaged folks, to really invest in yourself. I want you to take the course. It's February 16th. It's online. It's 2 hours, and we'll go from there. Divorce, should not be an option. So, when my husband and I got married, that word doesn't even come out of our mouth, right? Even if we fighting is normal in marriage. If you have an argument, if you have a miscommunication, if you have a conflict, and I'll deal with this on another day, it is okay, but you have to deal with it. You cannot just gloss over it. Every time a couple gets over an issue, when they're able to communicate effectively, it makes their marriage stronger. But if you hide things, you gloss over them, you don't talk about them, it's just a block that's gonna make it harder. So don't go into marriage like, we're so in love right now, and then freak out when you have your first fight. No, work on it. Say, why did we fight? What was going on? What could we do differently next time so that this does not happen again? All right. Okay, like I said, I'll take a couple of questions, then I gotta run in. Should you marry someone out of reason rather than love, meaning it makes sense to marry? So, let me say this. I think that when it's time to get married, it is important to think about why you're getting married. And I think that it's important to think beyond just, I love them. When you're getting married, and I'll do some periscopes for singles too. When you're getting married, we do have a workshop for you guys February 9th or something. You can go to my website and check. Don't just look at love. Look at vision, right? Where you guys are going. Look at compatibility beyond just, hey, we both like chocolate, right? Look at your work ethic. Look at the things that you guys value. Look at how you want to raise your children. Look at how you want to handle your money. Those are other things that would fall in the category of reason rather than just love. But you don't just get married because, hey, I'm old, or I feel like my eggs are drying up, or, I'm now a young pastor, because the men, this is a lot of stress for them. I have a lot of sons who are in ministry, and I'm praying for their wives all the time because these women will not leave their inboxes alone. So sometimes men feel like, I'm young, I'm in ministry, I got to get a wife, which is a protective factor, but it cannot be the only reason why you get married. All right. What if your vision is similar, but you're not attracted at all? Then talk about other things, right? Now, I always tell people, when you meet somebody and you're not attracted to them by their face, that cannot be enough for you to not get to know them. Beyond going beyond vision, you guys should have fun together. It should be easy to talk to this person. You should be able to see yourself 5 years, 10 years down the road. Literally, you need to marry your friend, because when things get tough, you don't need a lover. You need a friend. You need someone who's going to stick by you. So get to know those things. But after you've gotten to know those things and there's still no level of attraction, then that's not your husband or that's not your wife. God doesn't want you to be, you're not going to be married to someone you're not attracted to. However, you're not always going to be attracted to them first. God is going to allow you to know their heart, know their ambition and their goals, and you'll fall in love with that. Sometimes people are fortunate, men are very visual. And that's why we encourage women to still look beautiful, take care of yourself, even when you're married, because they're vision driven. It's just how they're wired. Women were more, emotionally driven, touch driven, but men, they want somebody who's really beautiful. But mature men are able to say, hey, let me get to know this person. And a lot of times they'll see, hey, this is the perfect person for me. And the beauty begins to exude out of that. All right. That being attracted stuff, guys, does not pay your bills. All right. But God will not allow you to marry somebody that you don't want to have sex with. Okay? Because he wants you to have children, and he wants you to procreate, and he wants you to be intimate, and he wants you to enjoy each other. If someone had a past addiction to porn, should I be worried that? No. You need to be praying for them. You need to ask them what are the things they've put in place to not go back. Ask them the accountability that they have. People have issues prior to meeting. To all of us had issues prior to meeting each other. And so what you just need to figure out is how they're dealing with it, so that those are up. And then you are called to pray for them. If you know this person has struggled with this, but they're not anymore, they love God, they don't want to do it, your job is to pray for them. Any advice continuing through the courting process until marriage? Some days are harder than others. Yeah, I have a whole book you can pick up on my site. But most of the times when people are courting, right, the next thing after courtship should be engagement. A lot of times people start having a hard time when they have been in one season too long. So, for example, if you've been dating someone for so long and they still haven't proposed to you, you guys are going to start getting frustrated. You're going to start, or you haven't proposed, you're going to start fighting. You're going to start getting on each other's nerves because that season is over. It's the same thing after you've gotten engaged and you're waiting 2-3 years to get married. You're going to have problems because things have seasons and they have time limits. So oftentimes I see issues when time limits have been too long. Will God tell you a man that struggles with homosexuality is your husband? I have a whole blog on prophecy and mates. I don't know. I would have to know your whole situation and what he has told you. I know God can tell people who their mate is, but this is how I instruct people concerning that. Submit it to your leaders, submit it to people around you that can hear. And even if God tells you someone is your husband or wife, doesn't mean you're really supposed to do anything about it besides pray and live your life. Especially for the women, if God shows you your husband, your job is to pray. Your job is not to go chasing after them. Your job is to pray that they have the realization that this person is it. But if that person is not paying any attention to you, if you've submitted to your leaders and they're like, no, nobody around you feels like that's it, let it go and keep going. Should you be careful about people with multiple sexual partners? When do you talk about this? So, you talk about this when you realize, hey, I feel like you could be my husband and you could be my wife. Okay. And really that should be in the first 3 months. Christians should not be dating 5 months, 6 months, 8 months, trying to figure out if someone is the one. There's a whole steps that you can take to know if someone is it early on. We have that course for you singles coming up as well. So once you have made that decision and you say, you know what, we believe that the Lord has put us together, then you need to begin to talk about some of those things. You need to talk about your past a little bit. You need to talk about where you're going. You need to talk about things that could be hindrances. And that relationship should be submitted to somebody. Other people should know that you guys are now dating. Okay? Should a woman know exactly what she's called to do prior to meeting her husband? A woman and a husband. A woman and a man. I would rather you guys know your purpose and your identity, because it's going to help you merge your vision together. All right? Any other questions? I know I missed a couple. I think I can take one or two and then I'll be jumping off. But I will Periscope concerning marriage and relationships, singles. And what about wives who are ready to give up after 2 years of marriage? I would say get into some counseling. If he doesn't want counseling, you get into some counseling. Get some help. Bring other people into the picture to work on your marriage. Bible says you have to prove a friend, prove the man or woman first. All right. Does God send you options? Okay, so yeah, this is a good question, and I'll end here. Or is there just one specific person? I loved the idea that there is just one person in the whole world for you, and they're the one, and that's your soulmate, and it's this big romantic movie, because I love romance. However, when you look at it, Scripture lays one clear foundation for marriage, which is do not be unequally yoked. And in my book, I talk about 22 ways to know if you're equally yoked. It's also free on my blog. Equally yoked doesn't mean we both just love Jesus, but that's part of the vision, going in the same direction and so on and so forth. So Scripture lays that one requirement, that you have to be equally yoked. Not that the person goes to church, but that spiritually you're going in the same direction. You can be unequally yoked when someone is filled with the Holy Spirit and someone wants nothing to do with the gifts. Okay? So you want to make sure that you're equally yoked. When we look at statistics, there's slightly more women than men. So does that mean that some women will not get married, some men will not get married? Long story short, the Lord gives you the option to choose, because he's not in the business of controlling people. So what the Lord will do is he'll present people before you that could be an excellent match. It's your job to do the research, your job to pray, your job to get accountability in it. And then if you both feel the peace of God, you choose each other in that moment. And then you choose each other every day. Your soulmate it's not this big. Now, some of us had dreams because we're prophetic. Some of us hear it loudly because the Lord can tell you, yes, this is good. Go for it. Yes, this is good. This could be your mate. But ultimately, it's always going to be your choice, because when the rubber meets the road, you're going to have to choose your spouse. When it gets hard, you're going to have to choose them, because the Lord's not going to be he doesn't want you to be saying stuff like, oh, God made me marry this person. No. You made you marry that person. And a lot of times people get married and God had nothing to do with it. You thought it was a good idea. It felt nice and so on and so forth. But ultimately it's a choice. And the reason it's good that it's a choice, we also have a choice to work it out. We also have a choice to fight through it. We also have a choice. And every day you choose your spouse, you fall deeper in love. The one can become the one every single day. All right. Okay, my dears. I saw one quick question about sex. I was just thinking about, stop being open to my wife because it does some damaging stuff to our marriage. Yeah, you guys probably need some counseling. If a man comes to you saying, I'm looking for a wife in a dream, could that be your husband? You better do a better research than that, right? So if a man says, hey, I dreamt you were my wife, then say, okay, tell me about yourself. Tell me where you're going. Tell me what church you attend. Tell me about your leaders. Tell me about your walk with the Lord. Those are the things that will really confirm or not. All right. Any other questions? I'll do a specific one on intimacy, sexual stuff, because I know that's a big thing. It's an area that the enemy's really after, and so we'll do that. But I would encourage you guys, go sign up for the course, AskDrFaith.com. The courses, we have one for singles, one for married people, and one for divorced and recovering breakups or heartbreaks. And so you guys can take those courses. What is too much to discuss about sex? Or I can't answer that today. I'll do it another day. How do you know your husband was the one for you? Oh, I'll share my story at some point, but yeah, I'll share it with you guys. I'll share with you guys later this week. because it's a little bit long. But I'll give you guys some things. On my blog site, I blog a lot about relationships. Go read. I have 8 ways to know that they're the one and all that other stuff. So bless you guys. Pray for your fruitful relationships, fruitful marriages in Jesus' name. We'll talk soon. All right. Bye-bye.